All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the MLG North American League and Full Sail LAN Invitational. Thank you for joining us here on Dota Radio. Make sure you do support the official MLG stream by heading over to www.majorleaguegaming.com, or I think you can just type in mlg.tv into your browser. Here we've got our second match of the day. We were a bit delayed, but we do have the Joikernauts facing off against Shadow Fiend Eats Cake, aka Team noM, as they're listed on the MLG website. I'm Zyori. Joining me once again is Hippie. How you feeling for Game 2, my man?
Pumped up, man. I mean, these are two teams. We obviously don't have Dignitas in here, so the names aren't quite as big. But Shadow Fiend Eats Cake is a team that's put up some really good results during the regular season. And Relic, who I believe is their mid player, if I remember right, has been really, really impressive for the entire season. He's a pretty legit player. And even if noM doesn't kind of pull it together and become a big team, I think Relic might become a big player somewhere. We'll have to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw a few folks saying that in chat, that Relic is just a surprisingly strong player for being a name that, semi-recognizable, I suppose, but not one of those huge big names that we've come to know and enjoy. So it should be an exciting game nonetheless. This is going to be a best-of-one series once again, guys, so just one match here. This is still the group stages, if I'm not mistaken. So let's go ahead and take a look at the initial bans and picks here. Shadow Fiend Eats Cake going to start us off with a ban on the Outworld Devourer, a second ban on the mighty Naga Siren. Joikernauts going to go ahead and take out the Elder Titan as well as the Bat Rider. Now, normally I'd say that opens up for a first pick Wisp, but no, Shadow Fiend Eats Cake going to go for the first pick Visage, and Joikernauts actually going to grab their two carries, the Troll and the Lifestealer. Shadow Fiend Eats Cake now going to second pick the Weaver, so Wisp actually going to make it into that second banning round, which is, well, kind of unorthodox.
Very unusual, but it just means neither team wanted to run a Wisp lineup, and theoretically both of them could still grab him, but it's kind of... You might see him banned out, but you might see teams looking at the other lineup and saying, are they really going to pick a Wisp right here, and then deciding not to. I think Joikernauts actually does have kind of a really good Wisp lineup if they want to make it happen. You can infest the Lifestealer into the Troll and then drop him on someone, so I would like noM to ban him out, but at the same time, if we don't see him banned, don't be too shocked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. We've seen Wisp a couple times be a little bit of a double-edged sword where he gets picked up and then the teams sort of feel the need to build a team around him. We've seen teams sometimes invest a little too heavily into the Wisp, and certainly there have been occasions where you get forced to kind of tri-lane with the Wisp, and that doesn't work out quite as well. We've seen many a time that he's a hero, a support in particular, that really needs a lot of experience. The name of the game is hitting level 6 pretty much as quickly as possible. So, we'll see what these teams want to grab. Shadow Fiend Eats Cake, though, they will break into their reserve time for their third ban, and actually going to use a good bit of it before going ahead and taking out the Rubik with their third ban. And we'll see what Joikernauts want to do. With Troll Warlord and Lifestealer, though, they've got plenty of carry power to start things off, and probably going to be a Troll mid that they're going to commit to, given that I think undoubtedly Lifestealer are going to be their tri-lane hero here.
Yeah, I think absolutely. So far, we do have the... Look, see, Joikernauts wants to ban out more blue heroes, because right now we have the red team versus the blue team going on right here. So they don't want Razor, because we all know that Razor as a blue hero would just help with the synergy of this Visage Weaver stuff going on, as well as, of course, being really strong against the Lifestealer.
Banned by color. So we'll see. Of course, Bane, always an option against the Lifestealer. Very well may be the fourth ban coming out from Joikernauts. We see that on many an occasion. Again, Shadow Fiend Eats Cake here going to break into their reserve time to decide how they want to handle this fourth ban. I imagine if they don't want to pick Wisp, they're going to want to ban him here. I believe Shadow Fiend Eats Cake will have third pick. And interesting, they're going to ban out the Bane instead of the other way around. So, I mean, Bane, a hero that really works well against any carry. Lifestealer is sort of the golden example of that, but Bane does work quite nicely against a Weaver or possibly another hard carry that they want to grab. So, interesting, but I think sensible.
Well, yeah, I mean, Weaver, similar to Lifestealer. I mean, Lifestealer, you want the Bane against the Lifestealer because of the fact that he disables him through his rage. You want the Bane against the Weaver because of the fact that he disables him for such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost forces a Linken's pickup on the Weaver, which you don't necessarily want if you can get away with not having to go it. So, I mean, it would be a good ban for either of these teams.
Right.
I think no question in my mind about that.
Right. That's definitely true. So, and Abaddon actually going to be the 4th ban from Joikernauts. And that's a hero that the past few days we've been casting really haven't seen a lot of Abaddon action, either picked or banned, which is a little bit disappointing. Last match, I think he was totally ignored, and we've seen how well he works against a Bat Rider, being sort of immune to getting pulled out of position, not immune to the positioning itself, but that ultimate makes it a lot easier for him to survive, and also the Aphotic Shield, well, makes quite the difference in dealing with that lasso. So I was mistaken, actually. Joikernauts going to have the 3rd pick, not Shadow Fiend Eats Cake. So we'll see how they want to do this. Still Wisp on the board as we move into the 3rd picks here, and I have to imagine that it will be a tempting choice for either of these sides, but probably more so Joikernauts because they still need 2 supports, and Shadow Fiend Eat Cake obviously have the Visage to start things off, so their support choices going to be just slightly more limited in terms of what they can grab with these last 3 picks.
I think maybe neither of these teams feels comfortable with a Wisp, and they both know it. And that may be why he's gone so far, because otherwise you'd think he would have gotten at least banned out in the 2nd phase. But the fact that he's just been left alone tells me that maybe they've looked at each other, they've studied what's going on, they're saying, all right, they're not going to run a Wisp, we're not going to run a Wisp, we're not going to waste a ban on a hero nobody actually wants. Mm-hmm. Which, despite his incredible power, I mean, he takes a lot of finesse to play to his full potential. I mean, you see like some crazy Wisp plays from the best support players, and some people just don't feel comfortable with that.
Yep. That's absolutely right. He is a hero that does require he's got a pretty high skill cap, because that relocate can certainly, we've seen in many an occasion, if used improperly, can really be more of a detriment than a help in the way of suiciding that carrier, whoever you bring with you. So you're absolutely right about that. And if neither of these teams are particularly known for their Wisp play, fair enough. No reason to waste a ban on a hero that really neither of these teams want to work in anyhow, like you mentioned. Joikernauts going to go ahead with the 3rd pick on the Nyx Assassin to go with their Lifestealer and Shrill Warlord, so a nice aggressive support there. And potential for a mid laner, not something that we see all too often, but I think we did see it yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see what Shadow Fiend Eat Cake want to do. They're again going to break into their reserve time. Only about 20 seconds left, so they're going to run out of that luxury time pretty soon here as they decide what they want to do to pair with that Weaver and Visage.
See, if the Rubik or the Bane was available, I'd say go for one of them, but obviously with both of them taken out, they're not going to deal with that. They could pick up their mid laner, since it's pretty much universally going to be a troll, but no, they're going to go for another support. Pick up the Jakiro. It'll work well with the Visage because of how slow they end up after they get Grave Chilled. It'll be a nice setup for the Jakiro, and of course, good team fight power, good ability to get multiple target lock down basically an area of the ground during any sort of fight because of the macro pyre, make sure that nobody wants to be anywhere near it. Mm-hmm. A little iffy because it's Lifestealer and he can just kind of rage and kill someone while standing in it and then walk out, so it's somewhat less good, but he's still reasonably strong. It is a little odd to see him picked up this early unless you have something like a Darkseer, though, so I'm a little... Right. They could still go with Darkseer. I mean, Shadow Fiend Eats Cake still need their offlaner.
Yep, absolutely. I was just going to say, DS is still in the pool. Windrunner is going to be the 4th pick for Joikernauts. Not going to deliberate too long here. And you're exactly right, though. Almost always we see Jakiro as that 4th or usually the 5th pick once they've already built that roster around having that AoE synergy. Usually there's a Naga there for the setup. As you mentioned, Darkseer pairs very nicely with the Elder Titan as well for those big AoE setups. And this early on, Joikernauts are going to have the luxury to know that they're going to have to not necessarily draft around a Jakiro, but draft around knowing that those big AoE ultis are something that can be dealt with. But there he is, Timbersaw, going to be the 4th pick for Shadow Fiend Eats Cake. Not a bad 4th pick, but I have to think that Darkseer would have been a little bit more tempting. I mean, Joikernauts may opt to ban him out here with their final ban, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely someone I would consider banning out. But then you do have to worry about the fact that they have 2 offlane potential heroes already, so if you ban out the Darkseer, they still have a lot of room to modify a lineup, even though I think a Darkseer would be an incredible pickup right here for them. And Joikernauts a little more locked in. The only person who really is in a variable position for them right now is the Windrunner, who could be either offlane or support. So you're not quite sure about that, but I mean, the Lifestealer is going to be safe lane or aggressive if they try to run him that way. You know that because the Lifestealer is going to be in the farming role, the Troll Warlord is going to be the one who ends up mid. So there's a lot more variability in what Shadow Fiend can pick up compared to Joikernauts.
Yep, that's certainly a possibility here. So We'll see. Joikernauts going to wait, take their sweet time with their final ban. About 20 seconds left in their reserve time. Again, they do have Windrunner, Nyx, Lifestealer, and Troll. So sort of an interesting lineup. Windrunner 1 we don't get to see all too frequently. So probably going to be in that offlaner. And there it is. Darkseer going to be the final ban. So sort of exactly what we were worried about. That key facet that would have made the Shadow Fiend Eats Cake roster particularly scary with the Vacuum, the Wall, Jakiro AoE, and then the Timbersaw AoE with the Chakram and the Whirling Death. I see that synergy now. I mean, they could still grab a Bounty Hunter, another great offlaner like that, but still not that same level of potent synergy that I think Olish Koffel there would bring to the table.
He's such an incredible hero. When he doesn't get picked, I get very, very sad. And there's the Storm Spirit ban, which, I don't know, maybe they're particularly afraid. I guess they don't want to deal with the zip, but I don't think that Joikernauts gonna be running mid. Maybe they're expecting a safe lane Storm Spirit and an aggressive tri lane.
Yeah.
But no, just gonna be Nature's Prophet.
Oh wow, and Nature's Prophet, another one that I can't believe I didn't mention that's still in the pool here. Especially with a Lifestealer. It's one of those classic combos that I always like to mention, that Lifestealer pairs so well with any huge mobility hero. And Nature's Prophet is certainly one with the global nature of that teleport. If he hops around with a surprise inside, it can be quite powerful. Spirit Breaker, another one that fills a very similar role. So I can't say I'm too surprised. In terms of lanes, what are we looking at here? I guess sort of position 4 Windrunner, the off-lane Nature's Prophet / jungle, the solo mid-troll warlord, and then that tri-lane down in the bottom. There it is. Shadow Fiend will indeed be the final pick for Shadow Fiend Eats Cake to go with their Timbersaw, Jakiro, Weaver, and Visage. So pretty straightforward lanes for them. Probably going to be that off-lane Timbersaw, Shadow Fiend in the mid, and then of course that tri-lane with Jakiro, Visage, and Weaver.
I hope he has some cake handy. Otherwise, they're just going to be lying to me, and I don't like people who lie to me, Zyori. Ugh. Frustrates me to no end.
So it looks like it will be Shadow Fiend mid. I think Relic is indeed their mid player, so not too surprised about that. Interesting that Windrunner is Gods with an S instead of a Z. There's too many Gods.
There's G. There's Gods. There's Gods. Too many.
Too many.
Gods casting Gods. That's gonna be awkward.
Yeah.
Merlini saying things like, "Well, Gods is doing this." It's like, wait, what? Huh? Oh, right. The dude playing Windrunner. Maybe they're just going to say the Windrunner over on that stream.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm glancing at Twitch chat, just trying to keep tabs on what's happening here. So paranoid about after yesterday's nonsense. Shenanigans. So, all right, let's go ahead and introduce these rosters, and we'll go ahead and get into it. On our Dire side, we do have Team Shadow Fiend Eats Cake, a.k.a. Team noM, how appropriate. Smurf going to be in the top lane, playing on the Timbersaw. In the mid, that's going to be Relic, playing on the Shadow Fiend, and of course, they're going to have a tri-lane headed bottom. Knave going to be on the Jakiro, Brix going to be playing on the Weaver, and Mashi going to be playing on the... Is it Moshi? Maybe it's Moshi on the Visage. In the bottom lane, on our Radiant side, we are going to have Team the Joikernauts. I may stumble on that one a few times in this match, just fair warning. Salen going to be playing on the Lifestealer. Joik going to be playing on the Nyx Assassin. Gods with an S going to be playing on the Windrunner. In the mid lane, going to have Toxin playing on the Troll Warlord, going up against the solo Shadow Fiend. And of course, in the top lane, that is going to be a long lane Nature's Prophet being played by Exile, who no doubt will be headed into the jungle once things get a little bit rough for him up in that top lane. Now, what's interesting, though, is that noM, a.k.a. Shadow Fiend Eats Cake, are actually going to be doing a tri-lane in their long lane. So they're going to be getting a little bit aggressive down here, and we will see a tri-lane on tri-lane, which means Furion may have an okay time, at least going up against a solo Timbersaw to start things off.
I actually disagree with that completely. I think Timbersaw destroys Furion.
Well, I was thinking compared to going up against a tri-lane. At least he'll be able to kind of stay in lane.
Maybe.
No, it's really not much better.
I mean, maybe it'll be a little bit better. He'll get maybe a little bit more experience, but he's not going to get any last hits. And quite frankly, the Timber is probably going to play more aggressively on him than anything else, because you can't effectively harass the Timber with the Treants. All they do is kind of make him, get all his hit points back, because they barely do enough damage to get through the Stout Shield block. He'll Whirling Death to get through any trees. There's nothing the Timbersaw or that the Furion can do to stop the Timbersaw from getting any sort of farm. And that means that the Furion won't be doing all that much better than he would, I think, in the 1v3. He'll be doing somewhat better, but not by, like, leaps and bounds. Yeah. And the Timbersaw will be doing infinitely better than he'd be doing up against 3 heroes. Right. So I think that's a big, big advantage for noM.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a good point. And this tri-lane is going to be kind of interesting. The Visage Shadow or pardon me, the Visage Weaver and the Jakiro, very aggressive. A lot of damage that they can put out. They don't have that classic kind of double stun, the skill shot mixed with a sure connection stun, but they've got that disabled with the Jakiro. We know how much damage Visage can put out, and Weaver's no slouch in putting out that bit of extra damage. And up against the Lifestealer Windrunner Nyx, that's a pretty aggressive tri-lane as well. Again, they've got that kind of double stun synergy with the Shackle as well as the Impale from the Nyx, also the Spike Carapace for sort of a third tertiary stun, if you will. So I think this bottom lane is going to be pretty interesting, and I'll be surprised if it's not action-packed.
I think it is going to favor Shadow Fiend Eats Cake to an extent, because they'll be able to harass the Lifestealer a lot more easily. They have 3 range to the 1 of Joikernauts. And also the Windrunner, the Shackle Shot, it's a really, really good stun, but it's really not too incredible until you level it. The damage potential that she puts out with Power Shot is really matched by the Soul Assumption of the Visage, so they don't have a huge advantage there. And the Shackle Shot just isn't necessarily that reliable, especially against, if you're trying to lock down a Weaver who's so mobile. It can be very, very brutal. And Nyx has actually gone Mana Burn at level 1 to try and keep the Weaver from just Shikuchiing all over the place.
Right. Yeah, so that will delay some of the aggressive potential from our Radiant side, but that Mana Burn will help at least a little bit, I guess. At the early levels, before Weaver gets that Void Stone, oh, my health bar has disappeared. What a bummer. I know there's a command to fix it, but I don't have... If anyone in chat has the command offhand that I can type into console real fast to get the life bars back, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. So yeah, but still, you can actually do that pretty well with the Weaver. Before he gets that Linken's, before he gets the Void Stone, his mana pool is pretty small. So with the burn and forcing him to burn some Shikuchis, you can select a creep that's about to die. Okay. Oh, that did... Wow, that's a nice little trick. I never knew you could do that. You are selected a creep that'll die, they come back. So, yes, the point that I was trying to make, Weaver only has about 200 mana or so. So you can effectively mana burn him after after all that.
Well, I mean, it still is a little bit of... I don't love it, simply because the mana you're burning like 80, 90 mana, so you'll get some from him, but you're taking 100 of your own. You're only going to get 1 or 2 mana burns off. I mean, sure, he has some clarities, but Weaver, because he's getting good farm, because this lane is kind of zoning out the Lifestealer a little bit more, letting Weaver get the better of the farm, he's already got his Bass Ring, so he's got decent mana regen. And they're just going to try to invade the jungle and take some of these pull creeps that are going on right here.
Yep. Exactly right. Visage actually with a double damage rune on. He did snag that 2-minute rune spawn that was in the bottom mark, so that is, well, good for him. Going to help in that bit a little bit of last hitting there as Weaver Shikuchi's away, actually evades the Impale. Let's take a look at the top lane here, as it looks like Furion is holding his own pretty well. Timbersaw is 14-4, exiled on the Furion is 8-3 at the moment, so obviously taking a good bit of damage there as he takes a whirling death to the face. But Timbersaw actually going to get a little bit aggressive here. He is going to dive on the Furion. He is going to use a healing salve as well, so I think Nature's Prophet will be able to survive. But Smurf being very aggressive, so I think we were both right to a degree. Furion doing all right. He is at least getting experience here as Timbersaw is pushed up, but it's pretty apparent who's the dominating force in this lane, as Smurf is just diving this tower, giving few shits. Maybe he should give a few more. He needs to be a little bit careful here. All right, tower going to drop aggro. I thought Furion may have a Sprout. Could have possibly picked up a kill right there, but alas, exiled, not going to go for it. As Timber Chain, well, serves as an effective counter to the Sprout.
Yeah, you can just Whirling Death his way out and not care, especially since it's not like it it's not like it will actually stop his movement, because there is no... It's an instant cast spell. It doesn't affect your movement at all. There's no cast animation. He can keep walking while he does it, so it doesn't even slow him down.
Yep. Well, yeah, he was low on mana. I didn't look at his pool. He was low on mana.
Mid.
Yep. Oh, there it is. We're going to see Relic in big trouble here. Shadow Fiend level 5, going to take Whirling Axes to the face. That should be a kill. Oh, man, that was a close one. They almost let him get away as he did try and sip up that bottle, but alas, Shadow Fiend does fall. Exiled, going to make his time worth it as he does grab that bit of extra bonus gold with the last hit on the Shadow Fiend, and it's going to be the first kill on the board here at about the 4-minute mark, 1-0 in favor of the Joikernauts over Shadow Fiend Eats Cake.
Yeah, one of the most powerful things about Furion is how easily he ganks that mid lane. Because you can't watch him coming with wards. If you push down that hill, you could always have a Furion coming behind you to sprout you, especially if there's a hero with any sort of good damage output, like that Troll, who actually has pretty exceptionally good damage output for someone who's a reasonably strong carry.
Yeah.
And we saw it happen. Relic just... He went a little bit down the hill. He couldn't retreat fast enough to not get sprouted. Just went down.
Yep. Absolutely right. Now, although that was a very worthwhile gank and very cost-effective indeed, that did did give Timbersaw a little bit of time to free farm, so in the interim he did hit level 6 and was also able to grab that arcane booster to go ahead and grab the arcane boost. Is that what it's called? Is it called arcane booster? Why am I second guessing myself all of a sudden?
Energy booster.
Energy booster. I knew that sounded funny. Energy booster. Jeez, all over the place. I should have had an extra egg for breakfast, I'm telling you. So, oh, down in the bottom lane. Whoa, there you go. And that's that killer tri-lane action I was talking about between all of them. Nyx Assassin going to be able to grab that last hit, but, I mean, they just obliterated Knave on the Jakiro. Really didn't even have any time to react. He went from full to 0 in just a matter of seconds right there. So that's going to be another kill on the board for our Radiant side.
The signal for that engage right there was Exiled actually bounced a Nature's Prophet ultimate around the entire map. It hit Jakiro on one of its last couple of bounces. Hit him for like half his life, and they were just like, all right, we knew that was coming. He's dead now.
Yeah.
And he just melted after that came in.
Yeah, clutch
Good
timing.
coordination coming out from the cross-map stuff right there. I mean, that's something that's actually really, really important. Like, you want to always know when a Furion ultimate is flying, because your whole team wants to be in position to capitalize if you're in some sort of combative lane like this. If the Furion ultimate happens to hit someone for a lot and you're not in position to capitalize, it's a lost opportunity, and it's like a half-wasted ultimate. Sure, he's going to get some farm off of it, but that ultimate isn't just about farm. It's about just projecting more of his global presence everywhere.
Yeah, and right there, oh wow, Visage actually going to get shackled. I think he is going to fall. I said that kind of because Nyx Assassin actually missed an impale right there. That probably would have secured that kill, but alas, they were able to make it happen nonetheless. And an interesting play coming out from Shadow Fiend Eats Cake is now Timbersaw is rotated down to the bottom lane, and Weaver is moved up top to pick up a little bit of solo farming. Looking at the last hit chart, Weaver's actually way ahead of the Lifestealer. Weaver right now 28-6 against the 15-1 Nakes. So there's a pretty big disparity there, and I really like this play now to bring the Timbersaw down bottom. He's level 7, and this Radiant tri-lane is all about level 4. Lifestealer is halfway to level 5 right now. So, I mean, Lifestealer is not going to be able to contest any of these creep kills. Timbersaw is going to be able to box him out of the lane. If Lifestealer even gets close, especially if they're near trees, that Whirling Death is going to be too much damage for him to handle. So I really like this heads-up play from Shadow Fiend Eats Cake, and now that Furion's moved into the jungle, Weaver has absolute free farm up in the top. So this is sort of a double win, now shutting down the Lifestealer, but also improving the farm of their Weaver in kind of one fell swoop.
Yeah, it was kind of the timing that they chose to rotate this was really, really perfect. Not only does he have those levels, but it's mid lane again. That Furion going to pour it in. Lots of damage coming out from Relic though in the return. Is he going to get the Prophet? No, he is not. Just barely can't get him in time. I heard that battle trance go off and said to myself, that must be a mid lane gank.
Yep.
Put my camera over there, and as I believed, so it was on the map.
Absolutely, and now Shadow Fiend going to be 0-2-0, so that is bad news bears for Shadow Fiend Eats Cake. Down in the bottom lane, we're going to see a little bit of initiation. Timbersaw actually going to take a latched shackle to the face, and that will delay some of the damage coming out, and he is going to press forward here, actually almost taking out the Windrunner with a nice chakram. Unfortunately though, going to take an impale while he was midair trying to pursue. Now Jakiro going to be in a little bit of trouble. Nick's going to be able to connect with the impale, and Timbersaw in trouble now. We'll see the Furion come in. Not enough mana for a Whirling Death, but was able to tango down one of those trees from the Sprout in pretty much instantaneously, so great reaction there from Smurf, and he is going to be able to survive, but unfortunately Jakiro does fall, and they do not secure the kill on Windrunner. That was a pretty chaotic little exchange right there, back and forth, but alas, the Joikernauts did come out ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, man, it's kind of, when you look at the graphs, you'd think, oh man, it's 5-0. This must be a pretty big advantage at this point in the game. But no, not really. And it's mostly because if you look at the last hits, the fact that the Timbersaw and the Shadow Fiend are doing significantly better than the vast majority of Joikernauts' team. They're getting a lot more farm. They're generally getting more out of their lanes. So even as they're dropping a couple kills here and there that they really shouldn't be, they're playing kind of over-aggressive in that bottom lane. You have to know that even though you have that advantage on the Timbersaw, even though he's a very powerful hero, you're not invincible, and there's always a Prophet that can come in, the Prophet ultimate that can bounce around. There's, of course, really good stuns down in that lane. It's not really safe to be diving quite as hard as they were.
Right.
But they're still doing pretty good, largely because of superior creep farm and superior last hitting.
It's absolutely right. I mean, looking at the last hit chart, 3 of the top 4 farmers right now are on the side of Shadow Fiend Eats Cake. It's the Shadow Fiend, the Timbersaw, and now the Weaver. I mean, he's only 5 creep kills behind the Troll. But in the mid lane, the Shadow Fiend going to be in trouble yet again. We'll see Furion poured in. He is now level 8. Nyx was on his way in. This time, though, Relic going to be wise to it, and he is going to survive. So here at the 10-minute mark, as you mentioned, it is 5-0 in favor of the Joikernauts over Shadow Fiend Eats Cake. But still, the lead really not that significant. Upwards of just about 1,000 gold. gold, about 1,700 experience, so it is there, but not quite as dramatic as you may think based on kills alone here. Leading the way on the net worth chart, though, is that Troll Warlord, and he's a little bit of a force to be reckoned with. I mean, he does have the phase boots, the Wraith Band, as well as a bottle with a haste rune in it, and now about 1,200 gold in the bank, so we'll see what item choice he goes for first, if he wants to grab that lifesteal, or if he just wants to move in to a fast BKB, which may not be a bad choice here in this match.
I would put money, actually, on the Shadowblade. I think he wants to be really, really aggressive. He wants to set up a lot of kills. He doesn't want to be sitting back and doing a lot of farming and playing sort of a hard carry role. He's going to leave that to the Lifestealer. He's going to get a Shadowblade so he can capitalize on the fact that the Jakiro, the Weaver as well, I mean, until he gets some items, and the Shadow Fiend are all very, very squishy heroes who are easy to gank in combination with the Prophet. And anyone he finds just kind of farming with his Shadowblade, he can immediately get a Prophet TP in and just kill them.
Yeah, exactly right. Sorry, I zoned out for a second there, but yeah, still 5-0 here at the 11-minute mark. And we'll see. Relic going to be in some trouble in the mid lane here. Looks like Troll Warlord is going to dive to this tier 2 tower. Relic may be able to survive this. The Weaver going to go in, and, well, he is able to make it at least a 1-for-1. Troll way kind of overcommitting there to be able to survive, and Shadow Fiend going to be able to get the ulti off. And that's going to be a kill. But yeah, I guess MLG is not liking... Man, the politics of these new streaming platforms is really getting to me. I think we might need to cut the stream here and just continue this as a local and upload it, and that's kind of the best we can do.
Is that happening now? Are we getting messages from people?
Yeah, he tweeted at me. So, I don't know. MLG is not someone whose toes I want to step on.
No, not at all.
So, alright, sorry folks. I've been linking their stream in chat. It is MajorLeagueGaming.com, so sorry. It's, like I said, we're really not involved in the politics here. We're just trying to cover Dota, and sorry about that. So we'll upload this VOD right when it's done, but that's about the best we can do, so sorry. Alright, so we are just on local now, sorry, for the VOD viewers. We can get right back into it, and we're going to see sort of a kill-for-kill exchange here in the mid. Timbersaw going to be able to finish off the Nature's Prophet, and this time Troll going to be able to finish off the Shadow Fiend. So they've been exchanging the Shadow Fiend quite a few times. He's now 1-4-1, so although his farm has been pretty good, they've done a great job of continuing to shut down this Shadow Fiend and make his life more and more difficult. Again, he's leading the way on the last hit charts, tied with the Timbersaw, but on the net worth chart, he's kind of par for the course, sitting at the 5th slot right now.
Yeah, actually, you were more correct about that Troll than I was. He is going to be going a lifesteal build. So he's not going to be going for that Shadowblade I was thinking about. He's going to be going for a little bit more of a farming build. Now I'm just curious if he's going to be going for a Vlad's or if he's going to be going for a Helm of the Dominator. Because both of those are valid choices on Troll, depending on what you want to do, depending on just how aggressive you want to be at the start. Right. If you want to go a little more farm heavy, and a little more personal, maybe you want to spread out a little bit more, the Dom Helm a little bit better, and Moshi in a lot of trouble there. Fury and ultimate, plus Nyx's ultimate, plus the damage coming out from those Troll Whirling Axes equals one very, very dead Visage in that mid lane.
Yep, absolutely right. So that is now going to make it 8-2 here at the 13.5-minute mark, and our Radiant side, the Joikernauts. I always have to think about that team name. They're abbreviated as TJ on the in the in-game client, so I have to think, all right, TJ, the Joikernauts. I always stumble before I say it, but they do have a nice lead set for themselves now. We were mentioning how it wasn't as significant as you would think, and now it's upwards of a little bit better. It's sitting around 2k gold now, somewhere about 2k experience, as they did just take out that tier 1 tower in the bottom lane, their first tower kill of the match. So that gold lead starting to jump up a little bit. Now they have the top 3 positions on the net worth chart. That Troll leading the way at about 5.3k, followed by the Furion, and last the Nyx. So their 3 really scary heroes are all farming very, very nicely. Though, to be fair, Shadow Fiend, Eats Cake are the next 3 slots on the net worth chart, and all 3, the Timbersaw, Shadow Fiend, and Weave, are all farming pretty well themselves, just not quite as well as the Joikernaut carries.
Yeah, and we actually do see the Furion's going to pick up a mechanism. He knows that neither the Windrunner nor the Nyx is going to get the gold for it anytime soon, and that tells me that his team wants to kind of be grouping up a little bit in the near future. If he was just trying to go for a split push build, he would have gone something a little more personal, a little less team-oriented. So he wants to be able to commit to those fights, be able to be a little more active. We have seen him doing a lot of porting in, doing a lot of ults to try and catch people off guard, and he's been a very active Prophet. This is not a passive farming, split-pushing Prophet. I actually really like that, and that what I would like to see come up with that, I would then like to see the Troll go Vlads and like to see them start knocking down all the tier 1 towers with that advantage while Lifestealer just farms.
Yeah,
Because Lifestealer almost got his armlet, and,
right.
he's a little bit behind because of the hard lane he had, but you can really, really help him pick it up if your team goes for sort of a pushing strategy, if you put a lot of pressure on and get a couple towers for him.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And when you're going for that early armlet build Lifestealer, there's that great kind of mid-game timing that he's right on point for, where Lifestealer is going to be a scary force. I mean, he's just going to be able to right-click hard and fast, and that's going to synergize nicely with a Vlad's timed around that as well if they wanted to go that route. Still hard to say what the Troll is going to do. He's got 2.6k gold in the bank, still sitting on just the casual Morbid Mask at the moment. So we'll be curious to see where he actually ends up going. And actually, Toxin taking a lot of damage here as Smurf on that Timbersaw presses forward, but not going to have enough to finish him off. With the Visage coming around the corner, I thought they may try and commit to finish off the Troll, but he's pretty pesky. I was just sort of thinking about it. Timbersaw really works great against Troll because a lot of his damage comes from the Whirling Death, the Chakram, the Timber Chain, and those are unaffected by Blind. So Troll really doesn't have that same level of survivability against the Timbersaw as he does against many of those other kind of prominent bruiser-style heroes, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely not. But of course, once the Troll gets his hands on a BKB, which he's sitting on 2,900 gold right now, I'm curious if he wanted to just get the quick lifesteal, and now he's just going to go for a BKB in that last slot. I don't know, but he's sitting on 3,000. You'd think if he wanted to upgrade the lifesteal right now, he would have bought something already.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. That's one of those items that's the lifesteal is the scary part, so there's really not much to gain by waiting to pick it up and less buyback gold or something like that. But we will see Troll use that ulti, and with that they'll try and knock down the tier 1 tower in the top lane. Of course, this will be the second tower kill of the match in favor of our Radiant side, the Joikernauts, and the tower getting low, not down quite yet as Furion is still poking away, but a nice shackle going to connect with Jakiro as they do dive that tier 1 tower. A lot of damage coming out. Jakiro actually going to be able to return a fair bit of damage as well, but the top tier 1 tower does fall, as does Jakiro. So now the Joikernauts leading 9-2. They're going to try and clear up the Visage Familiars. Unfortunately, not going to be able to grab them as they do fly off into the nether regions of the map. But now a 2-0 tower count pushes that gold graph even more in their favor, up to about 4,000 gold or so, and somewhere about 2,500 experience, something like that.
And in the end, with regards to that Troll, we were both right. He went casual lifesteal and now has that Shadow Blade.
It's like sort of an interesting build that he went for indeed. Not something that we would have predicted, so we'll share the credit, but the action going to continue up here in the top. Timbersaw going to overcommit a little bit. Looks like he wanted to try and finish off that Nature's Prophet, but Nature's Prophet will be able to take him out. So again, a nice cost-effective exchange for the Joikernauts. Now going to be 10-2 as we get into the 17.5-minute mark. They're just continuing to pick off these kind of kills. I mean, noM have a great team, but it seems their synergy isn't quite there, and a lot of these team fights, they haven't really been failing at a team. It's just one of them gets caught a little bit too far forward, and the Joikernauts capitalize, they take that kill, and they just back up. Our Radiant team has been playing so, what's the word I'm looking for here? They're not really being passive, but they're playing very controlled. They're not overcommitting, they're not diving these towers, they're just taking those little victories and backing up and resetting the fights, and I think that's a large portion of their success here already, as we're only at the 18-minute mark.
It's, I think, cautiously aggressive.
Yes,
is a phrase I would use for this right here. Because yeah, you're right. They're not overcommitting at all. Well, maybe this. No, all right. Yeah. See, they're gonna pop the Troll ultimate. They're gonna see, but the second he sees Visage Burst, the second he sees that there's two heroes, he's just being very, very careful. He's backing up. He doesn't want to overcommit. Doesn't want to give away kills. Knows that if they do start giving away kills and the Weaver starts getting these, because Weaver's a very dangerous hero to play over aggressive against. Because if you start, he's one of those heroes. If you dive too far, and there's a Weaver, you're not getting out. He's going to chase you until you're dead. There is no way to escape him unless you can actually just turn and fight. So he's one of those, I mean, and it's kind of like, it's similar to something like a Viper. If you dive too far against a Viper, you're just dead. There's nothing you can do to get away from him.
Yep.
So it comes down to, if you do dive too far, as opposed to getting away with like maybe one death, I mean like, oh, well, that was bad. Weaver chases you down and makes it like 3 deaths. He gets a bunch of kills, he gets a bunch of gold, and he can recover really, really hard.
Yeah.
So, I think this is exactly the style of Dota they want to be playing.
Yeah, exactly right. So, again, just to reiterate, Troll now level 13. He is 4-1-3 on the KDA chart, still number 1 on the net worth chart at just about 7.5k here at the 19-minute mark. And he does have the Shadow Blade, Phase Boots, still the casual Morbid Mask, Bottle, and Wraith Band. So I'm still curious about what he's going to do with that Morbid Mask and where he wants to take it. Vlad's, I think, is still going to be a great option every point in this game, especially when you have a Lifestealer. When you have that traditional kind of melee hard carry, Vlad's is just such a great choice. It seems like kind of a no-brainer to me. The armlet has now been completed. On the Lifestealer, he's actually had it for a little while, and he did grab Drums of Endurance. as well, so his farm is getting slightly better. Nature's Prophet has Mech complete already, gonna go for the ultimate orb right away, a pretty standard build, gonna forego the Shadow Blade, but no doubt gonna be transitioning into a nice timely Scythe of Ice, as many Furions do. Shadow Fiend now has also picked up a BKB. He did go BKB first to go to follow up with the Power Treads, as well as the Wraithband Bottle and Magic Wand. So his farm not looking too bad either. Timbersaw getting slowly but surely more closer. More closer. That's not right. Just closer to the Bloodstone. But whoa, Shadow Fiend! I caught all of it on camera. Just going to overcommit a little bit, perhaps underestimating the damage that the troll can put out. And I probably shouldn't say overcommit because he was in like the closest creep camp to his base. It's not that he was that far out, but that ward on the high ground from the Radiant, yeah, gonna scout him out.
Yeah, you know how they've been doing that whole go when the Nature's Prophet ultimate bounces through thing? Happened again. Troll went in with his Shadow Blade, brought him down very quickly. The Windrunner didn't land a shackle, but she did get that 3/4 of a second that she needed to keep him from getting out.
Yep, absolutely. We're going to see chaos erupt here at that top tier 2 tower on the dire side of the map. It's sort of turning into two fights as both sides with a lot of heroes very low. The Troll is dangerously low. He's been dusted. He's trying to survive. They are going to be able to finish him off. Visage going to get him with that one last nuke. Shadow Fiend dead from that engage earlier on, so it has been a 1-for-1. The Weaver was taken out, but there it is. Windrunner going to be able to power shot down the Jakiro, and that's going to make it a 2-for-1. A 3-for-1 overall if you count that Shadow Fiend getting ganked before the fight even started. Now the Joikernauts, our Radiant team, once again, 13-4. They've got a huge lead for themselves here at the 21-minute mark, and the tower count starting to look scary as well. 4-0 in favor of our Radiant side. That top tier 2 tower did get denied, it looks like, by the Shadow Fiend, but still a 4-0 hero count. Or was that the mid tower they just denied? They did. Oh yeah, the mid he just denied. Pardon me. But still 4-0. I mean, the league continues to grow here, now upwards of about 7,500 gold, somewhere about 6,000 experience.
Yeah, and it's really, even with that little death, maybe the Troll overcommitting a little bit, they still did get the tower, they still did get a lot of extra gold off of that, they got good kills, so in the end, still definitely a win for Joikernaut, and this Relic has really been shut down, despite the fact that he's gotten very good farm in terms of his creep score. He's sitting at the top on last hits at 165,
yeah.
His net worth is just, below the top 3 farmers of Joikernaut, which are the Nature's Prophet, the Troll, and the Lifestealer, as you might expect. Because he's got 5 deaths. There's just so much pressure going on him. And the Shadow Blade, the Nature's Prophet ganks. I mean, the Shadow Blade is what got him his last death. The Nature's Prophet has been constantly putting pressure on him. And that's exactly why Shadow Fiend is a very risky pick. He's a very easy guy to pick off until he has at least a couple of items to try and keep himself alive with.
Yep, and they did a great job with that Troll and Furion, as we mentioned earlier on. 2 great ganks on the Shadow Fiend prevented that kind of snowball mentality that Shadow Fiend tends to run with. And I sort of chuckled because Jakiro went down bottom. He denied the double damage, where he could have just picked it up. I think he was worried Nyx was invisible or something and was going to snag it, but it was just funny to see him. Oh, a double damage rune. Let me just kill it. I don't need it. I'm a support. And just, I don't know, tickled my belly a little bit. But Smurf on the Timbersaw now going to have the Bloodstone complete, so that is a big item pickup for Shadow Fiend Eats Cake, no doubt. Of course, it does start with 8 charges. He's back down to the brown boots of speed, as he did do that classic, get all the core pieces, then break the arcane boots, as many Timbersaws do. So a pretty timely Bloodstone that will give him a lot more survivability in these team fights, but I think a really scary item pickup has been made. We mentioned Nature's Prophet did decide to forego that Shadow Blade, and alas, he does now have a Scythe of Ice. He's level 15 with a Scythe, a mech, a boots of speed, as well as Hand of Midas, and he is starting to get scary. I think on the net worth chart, he is number 1 by a good margin, about 10.5k. Troll is number 2 at 8.7k. So Furion is he's in great shape, and right now he's got the surprise inside. They're going to engage on the Shadow Fiend. They're going to port up. He's going to use the Sheep Stick to initiate. Shadow Fiend will get the ultimate off, not going to do a huge amount of damage. Furion is going to use the ulti, going to pop the mech as well, and that's going to be it. Shadow Fiend going to fall. Not much he can do against the duo of the Nature's Prophet and the Lifestealer. Now Visage going to be in some trouble while all that was happening. Toxin on the Troll Warlord was able to catch him solo in the jungle, and he grabbed himself a solo kill. So Shadow Fiend Eats Cake just continuing to struggle a little bit here as the gap is continuing to grow, now 15-4 at the 24-minute mark. They're just getting picked apart at this point. They're all desperately trying to make some recovery farm, and it's working against them because the Joikernauts can just play 5-man Dota, group up, and pick them off solo while they're trying to farm. Point in case, Shadow Fiend.
Yeah, the dude he can't stop dying. I mean, I said before the game, Relic is a really, really good player, and they've put a lot of effort into shutting him down. I think that's really what's helping them a lot. He's got nothing to really go off with. He's got, just the BKB isn't enough for him to get a lot of work done against the somewhat farmed Lifestealer, the getting more farms Troll, and now the Furion with that Scythe of Vice is just brutal. As you mentioned, what a huge pickup to get at this point in the game. A mech and a Scythe of Vice on Furion at 24 minutes. Pretty dangerous guy. And I mean, everyone but the Shadow Fiend is just food for that because he can just pour it in on top of them and scythe them up, and they're dead. Nobody but him can deal with that, and even then, that's only if he wants to burn a BKB charge.
Yep. That's exactly right. I mean, even the BKB can help keep him alive, but it still doesn't stop his mobility issue, which is the biggest problem with Shadow Fiend. And it's not a problem when he gets that bit of early momentum. He's sort of a little bit similar to that Chaos Knight in the same way. When he gets that momentum, he gets really scary. But if that momentum gets slowed down, it can really hold him back. And with Shadow Fiend, it's not quite as bad, perhaps, because he has that flash farm potential, but still very momentum-based. And again, just a big credit to the Joikernauts for how well they have been continually shutting down that mid-hero. Again, now Troll going to come in. He's going to have the surprise inside. They are going to engage on the Shadow Fiend, going to burn that BKB. That'll be the first duration. It's going to be on cooldown for a while, though, so if they want to try to reinitiate here, this, well, could be a little bit rough for Shadow Fiend Eats Cake. That BKB definitely going to be the staple feature of the Shadow Fiend, but alas, all 5 of them going to port to the bottom. Furion says, hey, you want to do that? I'm going to head back up to the top lane, and now he's going to start knocking on the front door of that tier 3 tower in the top lane.
Yeah, I mean, that Furion, I think the thing is they can probably 4v5 Joikernauts, especially if they get a pick off on someone. I mean, and if noM has to move his 5 to try and shut down the Shadow Fiend, they're also playing into Joikernauts' hand because the power of the split push is going to be great. The Furion just porting bottom to join up with the Lifestealer now. If they get a Battle Trance, they might be able to take this tower before noM can even get in position to do anything about it. Free birds coming out. Oh, not quite. So close to take out a couple of those birds. They may want to back off as the rotation is coming in from Shadow Fiend Eats Cake, but at the same time, maybe not. Maybe they just, oh no, they're going to back. All right.
Yeah. We'll see how this ends up, but right now, this is where Furion really shines. I mean, this is what he does best, especially once he has this kind of baseline farm. Looking at the level chart, he is on par as the highest level. Him and Troll are the only 2 level 16 heroes in the match right now. So when Exiled is in a situation like this, this is absolutely what he wants to do, pull the other team out of position. I mean, right now, Shadow Fiend Eats Cake is putting so much attention into just trying to stop the pushing power of Furion. They took all 5 bottom lane. Furion ported top. They moved at least 3 of those heroes up to the top lane. Furion leaves and goes back bottom. They shift back down to the bottom lane. That was at least a minute and a half where really no one was farming on the Dire side just because Furion was able to abuse that teleport ability. So I got to give some credit to how well he's just been managing his hero.
Can I just mention, again, I think I forgot to say it this game, I freaking hate Nature's Prophet. That is the most frustrating hero in the entire game to deal with, especially as a carry player. When I get farmed up, and then there's just a Furion just basically making my farm useless because he's making us run around the map and try to chase him. It's so annoying. And oh, Visage actually going to get picked off by the Lifestealer. That's a nice start, and the Lifestealer now just hiding inside an enemy creep, maybe trying to give his teams... Oh, the Furion ultimate actually forced him to get out. That's so unfortunate.
But he is going to rage and try and port out.
All right, yeah.
He lives. And while all that was happening, again, another great example of this, Shadow Fiend Eats Cake putting all of their resources into trying to get that Lifestealer who was able to port out. Oh, all the while his team was killing Roshan. So that is going to be the first Roshan kill of the match. It is going to be the Aegis of the Immortal in the inventory of the Troll Warlord. Now 16-4 here at the 28-minute mark. The Joikernauts continue their rampage in this match. And looking at item pickups, some more big ones have come out. Troll has now picked up the Helm of the Dominator to go with his Shadow Blade and BKB. Nyx now has a Blink to go with his Arcane Boots. Lifestealer now has a Skull Basher, an addendum to the Armlet, the Drum of Endurance, and that Magic Stick. And Nature's Prophet hasn't made another big item pickup yet, but he's only got 1,600 gold, so I think he's either got something on the courier, or where's all of his money gone? He must have bought something. I guess not. I thought he would have had more by now. He got that Sheep Stick a while ago.
I mean, maybe... He's been doing a lot more kind of bouncing around the map, just getting a couple creeps here and there. They haven't gotten a lot of kills recently. A lot of his gold is from those 8 assists, which he's gotten largely with those the Wrath of Nature, and he may also be saving that a lot more as opposed to firing it off, because now he wants to save it for team fights. You don't want to, in the kind of mid-game, when all that damage is so incredibly powerful, you don't want to be firing off Wrath of Nature just willy-nilly. It's kind of the pub Furion thing, where he just, every time it's off cooldown, better burn Wrath of Nature, gotta meet that quota, but it's much, much, much more useful if you wait for the other team to be grouped up, then bounce it like across basically all the creeps on the other side of the map, and then it bounces through to their heroes over on, you know, one side, and they just get wrecked.
Yep, absolutely right.
Tempted Sheep going to come in here from Fury, and he's trying to get the positioning right to get this Weaver.
No.
Oh, but the troll came out of his Shadow Blade. That's so unfortunate.
Oh.
Toxin was standing on top of the Weaver in his Shadow Blade and exiled. You could see the Weaver was moving. He was trying to find the right place to TP in where the Weaver wouldn't quite notice him and he could get off the sheep, but he never got the position right. The troll came out of Shadow Blade and they missed the opportunity.
Yep. All the while in the mid lane, though, more action continuing to erupt. They try to initiate onto that Timbersaw, but it very well may cost the Joikernauts their Nyx Assassin. Indeed, it will. Shadow Fiend going to be able to grab that last hit. It's going to be a 1-0 to start things off. Now the Windrunner may be in a little bit of trouble. Lifestealer taking a lot of damage, is now level 16, does have an infest up, so I think he should be able to survive this, and he's starting to get scary. Between that Armlet, Basher, and Drum of Endurance, he's got a pretty good bit of sustain with that attack speed, and he's just going to go straight into the jungle here, heal up with the infest, and clear a couple of creeps. So this is exactly what we were talking about with the split push power. Furion continuing to shove creeps into that bottom tier 3 tower, forcing Shadow Fiend Eats Cake to back up and defend instead of trying to press forward. They have still yet to take out a single tower. The tower count right now is 6-0, of course, in favor of the Joikernauts on our Radiant side. So 15,000 gold, 15,000 experience advantage here at the 30-minute mark. They're still in great shape, and they're holding steady. You know that old saying of the best defense is a good offense? I think this game is a great example of that.
Absolutely. I would really like the Furion to pick up a Desolator next so that he becomes like really a one-man tower destroying force. So that the rest of his team, once they keep getting plenty of farm, when they have like, you know, an even bigger advantage than they already do, I think the Lifestealers probably going Abyssal Blade. Maybe that'll be the signal for them to try and push up, since they'll then be able to go through the Shadow Fiend's BKB. I think that's when, you know, you put 4 in one lane, you put the Furion somewhere else, and then you really do the proper split push. And Furion, of course, while he's pushing the one lane, will then just happily be able to pour it over to the other one as soon as the fight starts.
Yep, and you're absolutely right about that. Now Furion's gold is looking to be about on par with what I was thinking it would be. He's got about 4.2k in the bank, and I'll be curious to see what he wants to grab next. A Desolator could be an absolutely great choice. Assault Kuros could be an alright choice as well, given that he's been putting a lot of focus onto pushing. Desolator, I think, may be that kind of go-to item. It's just sort of a staple piece in terms of being able to knock those towers down even more quickly, but we'll see. I mean, what do you think? Can Shadow Fiend Eat Cake come back from this? What can they do right now to try and turn this game around? Because right now it seems they're totally strung out just trying to defend against Joikernauts. What can they do to not only defend, but try and at least get some tower kills on the board, get a little bit of gold recovery, and make something happen?
They're not really going to have a great chance to get pickoffs. They don't have a particularly good lineup for it. The Weaver split push is going to be their strongest option right here, but they have to be very, very careful that he doesn't get scythed out of the trees coming out from the Nature's Prophet. That's the biggest risk right now, is the Nature's Prophet can pour into the trees and scythe him, and he can just immediately get killed. But the Weaver is their best friend right now at trying to stop this. He can push out lanes reasonably safely. He has the time-lapse. He has the Shikuchi. He's very, very evasive, so he's able to kind of get out there and get farm where other heroes would have to be afraid. The Shadow Fiend, I mean, what they kind of need to do is counter-ward their own jungle a little bit, take a little bit of control back on that, so Shadow Fiend can start farming that. Like, he needs to keep the lanes kind of pseudo-pushed out with his nukes, and be able to occasionally take the hard camp, occasionally maybe take the easy camp. If they can get some stacks going, all the better, but I think that's a little too optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, stacks would be great, but I mean, again, we're going to see the Lifestealer kind of get a little hyper-aggressive here. He went into all 5, but just going to be able to rage and port away. They've got nothing that cuts through that rage, and that's one of the things, at least twice now, they would have had a free kill onto the Lifestealer if they had anything to interrupt that rage at all. If they had a Naga for that physical ensnare, unfortunately, they've got nothing. And, I mean, I guess you could probably argue that Lifestealer wouldn't put himself in that situation if they had one. I mean, he obviously knows that there's no way for them to stop him, but that's twice now that he's gotten a free pass, just compliments of his kind of built-in BKB, if you will.
Yeah, and they just, like you said, they have no way to deal with that. They didn't draft anything that is particularly good at handling a Lifestealer when he's in rage. So, and they also didn't draft a hero that can carry an Abyssal Blade. Neither Weaver nor Shadow Fiend is someone who's ever going to build a Basher. It's a complete waste to get, you know, the 10% ranged bash chance. It's just not very good.
Yeah.
You're losing a lot of the item's potential through that. And so then, because you're never going to get a Basher, obviously you're never going to get an Abyssal, and so that leaves them with no item path for locking down a BKB hero either, because that's the only item that will ever deal with that. And so what are you gonna do? Well, he's in that rage. You don't have anything. The Weaver can kind of kite him, but not when there's, you know, if someone gets a good shackle, if the Furion trees go out. There's so many good ways to lock down any of these otherwise kind of evasive heroes that the Lifestealer can just go crazy.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And speaking of Abyssal Blade, Lifestealer's got one now. He's upgraded that Basher into the Abyssal to go with his Armlet and Drum of Endurance. We see Windrunner now has an Orchid picked up, also to go with a Gem of True Sight. Still on Boots of Speed, but does have a Magic Wand as well in the inventory. So those big items are starting to come out really on both sides of the coin, but the Joikernauts are definitely a hop and a skip ahead. Furion, I'll give myself a little pat on the back. He did actually grab an Abyssal Skull. So sort of an uncharacteristic item for Nature's Prophet a little bit, but I think in this situation, it's an item that just makes so much sense.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but agree with you. And oh man, this Furion, the most frustrating thing for them right now. Look at how fast he's swinging with that AC. It's ridiculous. And of course, the AC again kind of goes with the rest of his itemization, which is less of a solo thing. I said I would have loved a Desolator, but he's not really trying to play a super solo thing. He's trying to put pressure on. He's not really going for towers on his own unless they're very, very free. But of course, the AC means that when he does port into that team fight, he's so much more effective. He's not going to be the kind of Furion who, I'll let them trade even in that 4v5, but I'm going to take a Rax in the meantime. No, He's the kind of Furion who's going to port in and say, all right, we're going to win this 5v5 decisively, and then we're going to absolutely crush your base when it's over. Right. So, I mean, you can see how cautious Shadow Fiend is playing right now. They don't feel comfortable engaging. They don't want to go anywhere near that team. They know they don't have the items to stand up in a team fight, but they also know that what else are they going to do right now aside from try to hold their high ground?
Yep, that's a great thing to point out. And Shadow Fiend, though, his form has gotten a little bit better. He does now have a Manta style complete to go with the BKB and the Power Tread, so he's at least getting those core items. Again, we saw Timbersaw had picked up that Bloodstone. He's now got a Plate Mail, so probably going to be moving into a Shiva's, which he'll have pretty quickly here. Could be an Assault Kuros, but that Shiva's seems to be a much more popular pickup on the Timbersaw, and always a great choice against a Lifestealer. Visage has got his Medallion of Courage, and now Weaver actually has his BKB. There's kind of that classic Weaver build where you either want to go for a BKB or a Lincoln's first for that bit of survivability and then transition into something scary like a Desolator or a Crit Stick or something like that, maybe an MKB. And he's opted for the BKB first, does have a Bracer in tow, now another 1,700 gold in the bank. So unfortunately, Weaver's farm is really hurting. On the net worth chart, he's only at 8k. Right now, Furion leading the way at 19.5k. So Furion is more than doubling Weaver right now. Those are sort of arbitrary examples, but still, Weaver's farm is just negligible at this point. Really no way around it.
Yeah, it's just they basically, Joikernauts need to super overextend and throw away kills for this to not be a secure game for them.
Yeah.
They're being very, very careful, which is good. They're playing kind of Chinese style right now, but it's not so Chinese that they're like farming just one side of the map. They're farming pretty much all farm in both jungles. They're farming the Ancients on Shadow Fiend's side of the map, so there's no good way for Shadow Fiend to go and get any safe farm except the occasional creep that pushes up to their base. Yep. And living on, that kind of welfare diet of the occasional creep that just kind of walks up to you as opposed to being able to go and find farm somewhere, you're never going to be farming as well as the guys who are all over the map, taking the jungle, taking the Ancients, who can take Roche every time he's up. And that's probably what they're waiting for. Roche up in about 10 seconds right here. Yep. That may signal the end of the game when Joikernaut takes control of that Aegis.
Yeah, I have to assume so. I think that makes sense here. The last Aegis actually expired out of the inventory of Troll. He didn't even burn it because they didn't fight. They've just been very cautious about not pushing too far into the base and overcommitting. But at this point, just look at how fast Roche is going to die right here. I think with the Aegis now and Troll probably going to be grabbing a Butterfly. He does have an Eagle Song in the inventory with another 1,600 gold. So maybe they'll want to wait for him to finish that off. But at this point, I think just sitting on the Eagle Song and having enough for buyback is probably going to be satisfactory. He also has, interesting, went for Yasha and Eagle Song, so sort of an interesting choice of agility items here, but he hits fast and hard. You have to admit, this Troll was pretty scary, hitting for just about 250 a pop.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Yasha probably for the move speed, and then there's nothing he really wants to finish it into, because if he's going to be in melee form a lot of the time, the illusions mostly just get kited. There's not a lot of melee heroes on whom Manta is a particularly good item.
Right.
But, look at that Battle Trance just melting that tower.
Yeah, that tier 3 tower in the mid is indeed going to fall. Lifestealer going to get caught, though. He's going to be in a little bit of trouble. Is going to be able to infest inside a creep and will heal up and survive. Is going to take a nuke to the face and, whoa, barely going to survive there. He is going to be able to toggle the armlet, and that's what took him down. So it wasn't as close as I made it sound right there. He just armleted down to virtually no HP, but it looked really close at first. I was like, oh, God, don't die to the familiars. So they take out that tier 3 tower in exchange for nothing. Basically a free tier 3 tower for the Joikernauts right there. And now Lifestealer may need to be a little bit careful though. There is going to be a smoke used by Shadow Fiend Eats Cake. We will see Lifestealer at the Dire Ancients. He's just going to go for it. He's going to put the pedal to the metal. He is going to burn the Aegis. No way around it. The question is, are they going to try and take a team fight here? Indeed they are. Furion's going to come in. Lifestealer is going to get taken out right away. A nice ultimate setup from the Shadow Fiend, but a lot of heroes going to fall on the side of Shadow Fiend Eats Cake. Right now it's a 2-for-2. The Troll is still alive. He's got the BKB on. He's doing a hell of a lot of damage. Relic on the Shadow Fiend. Used his ulti. Now he's got to head for the hills. The BKB's off. He used the Manta. He's got a Ghost Scepter now as well, but it doesn't matter. It looks like the Joikernauts going to be able to take this fight. They clean up the familiars, and it ends up being a 2-for-3, and of course they do burn the Aegis. What are we looking at in the way of buybacks? Not much on the Dire side. It looks like the Timbersaw has one, Shadow Fiend has one, but they are the only two alive. So the 3 dead heroes for Shadow Fiend Eats Cake do not have buybacks. They're going to be down for at least another 10 seconds or so here, and I think with the Battle Trance they should be able to take out this melee Rax at least. Glyph is going to be used, so it may be a close call. Jakiro going to pop back up, the Chakram going to be used, and Troll is going to Shadow Blade and back out here. So I think the Rax will indeed survive as the Joikernauts do get repelled here. Gods on that Windrunner, going to be able to Windrun away from the Timbersaw. He's not going to pursue, and that'll be the end of the fight.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising to me that Joikernauts didn't manage to take a little bit more off of that. But now we have, with the MKB on the Prophet, to deal with the slight possibility that someone might eventually get a Butterfly on Shadow Fiend's side. And just the fact that the Troll has a ton of gold, even after finishing his Butterfly right there for the evasion. There really isn't a way Shadow Fiend gets into this that doesn't involve a lot of throws coming out. Like, beyond EG level of throws coming out from this Joikernaut team.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, the gold graph, upwards of 30,000, 25,000 experience. That's just a huge difference here for 41 minutes into the match. Exactly right. There's not much that Shadow Fiend Eats Cake will be able to do to stop this next push, given that they don't have a glyph. I mean, at this point, the Joikernauts could really just run in, use the Battle Trance, focus down the barracks, and with the BKBs and such, that Rax will die before Shadow Fiend Eats Cake can even do anything. We've already talked about how they have nothing to deal with BKBs. They have no trump card. And it's just something they're going to have to deal with in this upcoming push. Troll has now completed his Butterfly as well to go with the Yasha, Helm of the Dominator, BKB, and Shadow Blade. So needless to say, he is hitting hard and fast, and now he's got that additional bit of survivability with the 35% evasion.
Yeah, and just...
and MKB on Furion.
I can't even talk about how noM might be able to take this fight.
Yeah.
Because... barring exceptionally terrible positioning, they just can't. There goes the Jakiro in about 4 swings.
Yeah, I mean, the Rax, same thing with the Battle Trance on about 2 seconds, and the Rax just get completely melted. So actually, there is an MKB on the Furion who is now level 24 to go with his Assault Kuros, Scythe of Ice, Mech, and Hand of Midas. So it's starting to look grim for sure. The melee all the Rax in the mid are down, and we will see Joikernauts just rotate to the top lane. They are going to wait for the creeps. They're going to clear out the incoming creep wave, and I think all 5 of them are just going to press forward. They don't have the Aegis, so it is one thing they'll have to be a little bit careful of. Naix now does have a Reaver as well, so he's starting to get even more scary, hitting hard, hitting fast. Just look how fast that tower dies. I mean, these structures between the Assault Kuros, the Battle Trance, and everything else, it's just a massacre onto these structures. And here we go. It looks like what could be the last fight of the game. Troll Warlord going to get initiated on. He will get Sheep, but going to BKB out, and just look at all this damage coming. Right now, it looks like it could be a clean sweep. Timbersaw and the Weaver dead. Shadow Fiend dies, but does buy back. The rest of the team gets cleaned up. Shadow Fiend the only one left alive, but it's not going to be for long. He is going to use that Ghost Scepter. That'll buy him a couple of seconds here, but just going to delay the inevitable. Down he goes. 5-0 exchange, and Joikernauts going to be able to take the second match of the MLG North American Full Sail Invitational 26-7 after 43 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah, it looked kind of good for Shadow Fiend, especially when they rotated the Timbersaw. They started to put some pressure on, but I can't give enough credit to how aggressive and team-oriented the Nature's Prophet play was from Joikernaut. I mean, that is the power. People look at Prophet and they're like, oh, he's that hero who kind of runs around the map and just does everything on his own. This is the power of a properly played ganking and like team fighting Prophet. Mm-hmm. He did so much work. He bounced so many good ultimates to set up kills and kept so much pressure on that Shadow Fiend that it was really, really impressive.